Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder twice a day. Gotta say, he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, see, that's a joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free flamethrower with every IT purchase with Picatinny rail adapters that can mount it to any standard AR-15 like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the flamethrower button to learn more and see me shooting a flamethrower. And lastly, trying to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends and your enemies, I would greatly appreciate it. Now going over to the business part of the podcast, you have some good news. The automotive industry Trump rolled back some of the draconian evil regulations from Biden-Harris administration. We'll finally have V8s again. Now, this brought us thanks to Politico, and very rare, some good news in the automotive community. Specifically over at Politico, Chris Marquis is right over there. And they say, quote, fuel savings versus car cost, Trump to roll back Biden vehicle rules. The administration announced new standards. Or as Trump would say, winning, we're going to make the V8 great again. Going to have the stick shift in all the vehicles. Some might say we might even have some more Italian over here with the V10 or the V12. It'll be glorious. Which, I mean, Trump didn't say that precisely, but something to that effect, I'm sure. Now, again, they say, quote, Donald Trump just delivered the newest blow against the electric car that's being propped up by terrible regulations. It's funny how they frame it. I did that, which, yeah, that is one of the reasons EVs are going to fail is in 2026. They're not being propped up by this government handout. Now they say, quote, at the White House, they announced sweeping new regulations and changes to automotive executives and congressional lawmakers. Trump said his administration is relaxing the vehicle fuel economy standards that served as a crucial piece of Biden's effort to destroy the automotive community. Well, I changed it. They said that Biden did that to encourage the adoption of electric cars. It's a nice way of saying forcing, coercing. Yeah, the friendly reminder, the automotive industry is one of the most overregulated industries in the United States. One of the reasons why you see EVs being made and propped up is fuel economy standards and fleet emission standards and fleet fuel economy averages. It was so bad that Ford almost had to pay $1 billion because they didn't get the right arbitrary mile per gallon. So they had to make one of these crappy EVs, which again loses Ford $50,000 on average per EV sold. Yeah, and forces consumers to buy disposable junk because that's what EVs are right now. There might be magical technology in the future, makes them more reliable, so last more than 10 years. But again, the best combination, bang for your buck, primarily intended because of a nice engine. Get a nice Japanese car with 4 cylinders of glory and a stick shift. It'll outlast most relationships, I would say, and usually 20 to 30 years. Now, they say that, quote, Trump's aides are also promoting the change to push new cars to be more affordable, which, again, decreasing regulation will do. Every year, cars get more and more expensive, in part because emission standards and also safety regulations, and I would argue over-regulations. They say the proposal also includes a step to prevent draconian evil places like California to set tougher fuel requirements imposed by the federal government. Again, I'm changing the phrasing a little bit here. This is extremely important because California, or some people call it California, is the 10th largest automotive, 10th largest, I'm not kidding, 10th largest automotive selling area market on the planet. It's that big, even with all the people leaving in droves. Now, they say, quote, the move comes after a long series of Trump administration efforts to eradicate Biden's, I would say, BS clean energy policies, which, yeah, talk about scam, how much money we wasted on those initiatives. Those include Trump's repeal of the $7,500 customer tax credit for EV purchases, as well as his attacks on California's ability to set the toughest in the nation pollution requirements that are expected to drive sharp increase in EV adoption. Yeah, because they want to make it illegal in California. They have a nice ban. They even banned gasoline-powered lawnmowers, leaf blowers, forcing people to buy more junk in California. They say Republicans also eliminated any monetary penalties for automakers who don't comply with fuel economy standards. Coincidence? I think not. After that was announced a couple weeks ago, Toyota goes, you know what? New Supra might just have a V8, which would be great. Again, one of the reasons you're seeing smaller, I would argue less reliable engines, as they put more stress on smaller engines, is because of the fuel economy standards. Good for the short term, but bad for your pocketbook long term, as you have more and more reliability issues. I still am not a fan of the new full-sized, well, it's not new anymore, when Toyota went to the V6 for their full-size Tundra. They should have V8. V8s last a long time. Now, they also say that Trump said that it was a move to save consumers around $1,000 on purchase of new cars and get rid of regulations he sees as anti-economy and horrible. I'm sorry, it's a quote, anti-economy and horrible, which, yes, they also are. Again, every regulation just increases the cost of goods sold to the consumer. Again, the average cost of a new vehicle sold in 2025 was like $50,000. That is ridiculously expensive. And a lot of that cost is because of regulations. And I would argue dramatic over-regulations the government has no business doing. Now, they also say that Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said the Biden-era standards were completely unattainable and were driving the cost of cars up by forcing auto companies to spend more money on technology. Yep. Because again, if these companies didn't do it, they're fined into oblivion. And again, these investments are billions upon billions upon billions of dollars, just pissing that money away. Kind of like windmills. Windmills don't break even for 20 years on average. That's just a break even. And that also ignores the bad impact to, ironically, the environment that those windmills actually have. Spoiler alert, those blades are very hazardous. They're actually terrible for the ecosystem when they try to recycle them. And they usually don't recycle them well. They say Wednesday's proposal from the Transportation Department addresses the decade-old corporate average fuel economy program. Yes. Which Biden regulators had tightened by boosting the standards for light-duty vehicles to 50.4 mile per gallon by 2031. How stupid is that? 50.4 mile per gallon. They say that cars now get an average of 24.4 mile per gallon, according to the Department of Energy. Yeah. So the only way to hit those numbers is make them hybrids or EVs. They're making these unattainable BS standards, which again, the government has no reason to do. No authority to do, I'd argue. They say the new standards released by the Transportation Department propose to increase the economy in a much more incremental and workable way for automakers. I still don't think they should have to. DOT estimates the new rule will wrap up the average vehicle mile per gallon to 34.5 mile per gallon by 2031. The DOT plan to significantly revise the administration's approach by removing language that incorporate electric vehicles in judging automakers' compliance with standards. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration also does not consider performance of plug-in hybrids and compliance credits in the calculation. They're calling it a complete reset. Deputy Transportation Secretary Stephen Brody predicted in a speech last month that the administration would propose a, quote, complete reset of the decade-old corporate average fuel economy program, which he contended would bring something to the order of $100 billion in cost savings to the U.S. economy, which would be great. Imagine if we could actually have reliable vehicles again. Vehicles that had less recalls. Again, Ford has had 138 recalls this year alone. I mean, I can't believe that cars kind of peaked in the 2000 era, partially for nostalgia purposes, but also enough tech where, yeah, got heated seats, maybe had a map you could plug into the infotainment system. Actually, no, not that. Yeah, you had heated seats. That's all you really need. And a stick shift. Those are my priorities, or lack thereof. Now, they say, quote, however, easing fuel economy requirements is unlikely to deflate new vehicle prices in the short term. Automaker production plans are already set years in advance. While other factors include tariffs, supply chain issues, technologies such as autonomous cars, and America's desire for bigger vehicles. Yeah, it'll also mean you'll actually have lightweight trucks. One of the reasons why the new modern Toyota Tacoma is bigger than the old full-size Toyota Tundra is because of the rule set from the government. They said, okay, if you're going to have these numbers, well, it has to be a bigger vehicle. So that's why you see the jokes around for decades where the bed of the truck stays identical for decades, but the trucks get bigger and heavier. Because that's the only way they can get more performance to the consumer. Now, they say Stephanie Brainley, an automotive analyst at S&P Global, said rolling back the Biden-era efficiency standards might bring down the average price of the overall U.S. passenger fleet because of fewer electric vehicles being built, meaning that the more expensive part of the fleets will shrink. So that's some good news there. But I don't know, it's one of those things where this is really great. However, Mark makes a good point in terms of these decade-long investments from these manufacturers. How quickly could they pivot? And again, the big uncertainty is Trump's got a couple more years in office. What happens if Democrats win and they ramp up these where they actually just ban gas cars altogether? I'm sure it'll be challenged, but again, that's one of the big contentions of the automotive industry when you have relatively short cycles of presidential elections compared to vehicle plans. Some vehicle plans and production is usually like a 10-year run of a model vehicle or generation of a vehicle. And it's one of those things where there's a lot of uncertainty. Again, more and more factories are being built in the United States right now because of the tariffs that Trump has enacted. If those tariffs go away, those factories, well, the rate at which they actually make those new factories are going to probably dramatically decrease. Again, some great news. I hope these auto companies move very quickly and make some really awesome cars, especially Dodge, which, I mean, the only reason people buy Dodge vehicles is fun, loud, stupid, obnoxiously fun, big old Hellcat engines. I mean, put a Hellcat Red Eye engine into everything right now, Dodge. Well, you gotta sell while you can, baby, and make some good profits. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Don't forget to take the time to give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment to give me some additional feedback. Let me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone, everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.